How's it going, guys? RXXC coming back at you with the fourth and final of our little deck profiles for this first round of our little friendly tournament we put on. Some of the videos should have been already coming out, or I guess the first round you should have seen by now. But this is our Aquos and Darkus deck that we threw together. Piloted by our friend Lane here. He built this deck himself. I'm just going to kind of ride along for the video and see how this works and do my thing. But he's going to take you through it. But this deck does consist of a Darkus Nilius, a Aquos, Aquos Garganoid Ultra, and a Ultra Hydrus Aquos. So, let's go ahead and go through the cores and talk about your characters.
Alright, so starting off with Hydrus Ultra, he runs 2 shields, and I elected to go for both buffs, both of which have plus 400B if you're Aquos or Darkus, which synergizes really well with this deck. Yeah. And he was actually like the Bakugan that I would choose to go first most of the time because he has relatively good stats like in B power and attack, and he just tends to open really easily. So he would normally be my starter. Like I would go down this line pretty much in any given game. So next up we have Garganoid Ultra, and I ran a Fire Fist and a Helix. And the Fire Fist is a buff with plus 250B and plus 3 attack. And then the Helix is my Trap Core with minus 100B and minus 3 attack. And then finally we have Nilius, who is really hard to open, but when he does, he usually impacts the game really well in my favor. And his 2 cores are the Fist and the Helix also. And his Fist is plus 150B and plus 1 attack. And then another Trap, which is minus 300B and minus 1 attack. And so now we're going to move into their evolutions, and I am running 2 copies of Diamond Hydrus Ultra. It has the 9 energy associated with it, so early game you're just going to mainly use this card for energy purposes and everything. Like if you can't get him off, it is not detrimental to you, but he can really help out late in games whenever you need it.
Yeah, and if you're just catching up with the videos and stuff like that, or you're just starting out with the game, Diamond Hydrus Ultra is an upgrade card. Just because we do have the Diamond Hydrus Ultra figure here, doesn't mean that Hydrus Ultra is any different. You do still play the regular Hydrus Ultra card. It's just that, you get a little fancier figurine to play with. Makes you feel good. The figurine being the Diamond variant doesn't actually change anything until you do actually play the evolution card onto him. So this acts as just any other evolution card there is in the game. So just clarifying that, because a lot of people are having that question at the moment. So let's move on to Garganoid.
All right, next up I'm running 2 copies of Titan Garganoid Ultra. He's a 5 energy cost, but going up to 900B from 300B is really solid. His attack doesn't get really that much of an increase, but it's a relatively low cost card, and he just really helps in late game whenever you're facing off against other evolutions and stuff.
Okay.
And then I'm running 1 copy of Hyper Nilius, which boosts up his B power a little and gives him some more attack. But really, the main reason you would play this is because of that ability he has. Whenever you deploy and you end up having the most B power, you can discard any amount of cards you want and gain 2 attack for each. So he's really good. And then finally, I was lucky enough to pull 3 Titan Nilius, but
very lucky.
He has a little bit of a steeper cost, so I'm only running 2 copies. And he's pretty much just an upgraded version of Hyper Nilius, and his ability is twice as good because...
Yeah, so you get, instead of the plus 2, you actually get plus 4 for each you discard, which can get pretty nasty. But if you discard all your cards and then you get blocked, that can kind of hurt you. So you got to pick and choose the time to use this if you're, reading your opponent's deck pretty well. So, pretty cool. Very very cool card if you haven't seen it yet. It's just, the art is pretty great, but the card itself is pretty fantastic too. So that's it for the upgrades, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's move into the ability cards. We can clean this out and get rid of the cores here. And let's move into the zero costs.
No.
One cost. No zero cost in this deck. One cost cards.
So I'm going to start off with my Aquos cards. I run one copy of Tides, which seems a little risky because a lot of people think Tides is like a top tier card, but there's a more energy cost version of it that I happen to like more. I could see myself running like one more copy of this, but it's good because it gives you 200 B power, and if you played another card this turn, it gives you 400 instead, and it's one energy, so fairly decent card. Next up, we have Flooding Waters for one energy also, and I run one copy. It's plus 200 B for each Aquos Bakugan on your team, so for me, this was plus 400 anytime I used it. I would run more, but I believe this is the only copy of the card that we have, so I'm kind of stuck with it.
That's what you got to do.
And yeah, I mean, it's a good card. You get a lot of B power for just one energy, so yeah.
It's a good card to have when you have multiple of the same color on your team.
All right, so finally into cards I have more than one copy of, I'm running 2 Water Slash. Because in early game, it's viable if you can get your stuff out early. And me with Hydrus, I like having a little bit of extra punch, being that he only has 4 attack. So I run this, and I can usually get off 6 damage turn 1 instead of just the 4. So cheap and get you more damage. So good in late game. Next up, I run 3 copies of Ice Barrier. Plus 400 B for 2 energy.
Yeah, it's a very good card for just 2 energy.
And it combos in well with like Tides and another card I'll have coming up.
In late game, when you have a lot of energy, you can stack that too to, pretty much win most fights.
And then next we have Triple Blast Cannon, which for 3 energy you can negate an action card your opponent has played.
This card was very nasty in testing. I ran into it once, and it kind of ruins the game sometimes. Not ruins the game. Ruins the game for the person it's against, because you think you did something great. You lowered your opponent's B power or whatever, and you think you won the fight, and then the last thing you do is do this, and it just kind of throws off the whole flow of what they're doing. So nasty card here. 3 cost. Very good.
All right, so next we have, in my opinion, the better version of Tides. It's Wave Slash, which costs 3 energy instead of the 1. But this one gives you plus 300 base B, and then if you activate the ability Flow, you can get up to 1,000 B instead. So that's why I like it personally more over Tides. Now, it's not like good in the earlier stages, but it's a lot more effective to me throughout most of the game. So now we're on the darkest cards, and I run 1 copy of Prismatic Shield, which is just plus 200 B for 1 energy, and yeah, it's kind of self-explanatory.
It's a good little throw in, little punch.
Next up is a card that I probably should run more of. It's Tainted Touch. It's plus 2 attack, and if you sacrifice one of your cards in hand, you can get plus 7 attack instead.
Yeah, Darkus seems to have that sacrifice ability a lot. Normally gives you a pretty decent effect if you want to throw away one of your cards. Can be dangerous though. Obviously, throwing away some of your power in your hand or whatever you have in there can be pretty detrimental. But normally it gives you a pretty good resolve to getting rid of the stuff.
And then we have probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, Curse of Darkus, which is -2 attack base for 2 energy. And if you sacrifice a card while you play this, then you get -10 attack instead. It's really good for things like team attack or when your opponent's just going all in so that he can try and mess you up.
I ran into it a couple times as well. Kind of annoying, especially late game. Maybe you can play 2, and then you just subtract 20 off their full attack. So, good card if you're playing Darkus. Great card if you're playing Darkus.
And then I did run 2 copies of Dark Boost for 2 energy, and it just gives you the normal plus 5 attack, nothing really special.
Yeah, good to have once you know that you've won the fight. And stick that in there, get a really good impact on your attack power there.
And then I ran 1 copy of Garganoid's Gaze.
Really cool art on this card, too.
Really, heroes kind of messed me up a little bit in testing, and I needed more ways to try and counteract them. It's a good card because it gets, for 2 energy, you can get rid of an enemy hero with 4 that activates with 4 energy or less. But I believe that I need to add something in the deck that gets rid of like higher energy cost heroes too.
I mean, this one can get rid of a Winton or a Lightning, which is some stuff that we did see. So good for those low tier or low cost heroes.
I ran 1 copy of Smoke Armor for 3 energy. You get plus 500B. It's kind of just...
It's a good little heavy punch there for 3 energy. Not bad.
And then I have 1 copy of Storm Generator, which for 3 energy you get 300B and you can sacrifice it to return it back to your hand. So this is good in late game whenever you just like need more cards just to keep your deck alive.
And I don't think I opened this one on camera, but for us Pokemon players, we have different kind of hollows. And this game, they take the hollows and I don't want to say put more effort into it because that's kind of mean, but like the lightning on this card is hollow, and then it also has like the hex on it. It's just really cool to see. I love the art on this card. But anyway, side note.
I ran 2 Stone Skin for 3 energy. You get 200B, and you can sacrifice and get 800B instead. So it's kind of like you're almost getting up to numbers that you would get with Tides and stuff. So, but it's in Darkus, and I just needed more cards to get a lot of B late game. So I ran 1 copy of Corrupting Mist, and it is plus 100B for each damage your Bakugan has. So this is good whenever you're running like a high attacker, but not as high B like Garganoid is, because late game he can do really good things, and yeah, I was liking. I ran 2 copies of China Riot. And for 4 energy, you can deploy her and get plus 1 attack for any of your attacks. But I almost never actually paid for the energy, because if you discard her, you can automatically play her onto the field. And yeah, it just came up a lot.
Yeah, so he would get to play it when he would like lose life or something, like he lost a battle, he took like 10 damage or whatever, and China would be in there. You can take her out, and then you get to play her for free because she was discarded by, health reasons.
And my last hero is Magnus, which is really good late game, but early game he's just not there for you. So he's kind of like a tough card to play, but if you can get him down, it's insane. You get plus 500B, 5,000B. Whew. And if you win the battle, you can discard a card to give a Bakugan attack equal to the discarded card's energy cost. So when I play it, I like to discard my Diamond Hydrus Ultra so I can get the maximum value for it.
To the flip cards now.
The one thing I would say about this deck is I do think that I need to run more low energy heroes like Lightning, just because it's kind of hard to get my heroes out because of their energy costs. But otherwise, yeah, I think I do pretty good. I have Counter Outsiders, which it stops all non-Aquos, which
pretty standard.
Yeah, and then also run 3 copies of Cease Outsiders, which stops all non-Darkus.
Yeah, so the standard stops for the 2 factions he's running, which is, that's what you need.
And then finally, I have my favorite card probably in this whole deck. And it's Black Hole. So whenever you take damage, it's kind of always stressful because you don't know how much you're going to take and if you'll get flip cards. But this card, whenever you don't start off with it and it actually stays in your deck, is devastating. Because usually opponents like to use up all their energy when they're stocking up, getting ready to attack you, this card ends the turn and none of the energies reset. So basically, next turn you have everything but 3 of your energies to do whatever you want to your opponent. So I like it.
Yeah, it's a crazy card. It is a awesome rare though. So we do only have 1 copy of this, but I mean, this is a really great card. I would say 2 or 3 for sure if you had enough copies to do it.
I don't know if I would run 3 just because like it's a little iffy with energy and stuff, but definitely like a 1 or 2 of in any Darkus deck I could see this card being in.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. So anyway, guys, that is our Aquos Darkus deck. By now, these videos should be rolling out, so you should start seeing the tournament. Eventually, we're going to have the 3rd and 4th place video and the 1st and 2nd place video. These decks did pretty well for us just kind of throwing them together with what we have. We have a decent card pool, but like Black Hole, we don't have everything the way we'd want it, okay? But again, just like us, just kind of throw what you have together, make some decks, get some friends, show them the game. You know, grow the game's popularity. Just show people what this game's like. That's all you have to do to grow games like this. It's really fun. You know, I mean, just let it grow. Let it happen. All right. So if you like the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share it around. Show your friends. And enjoy the next stuff that's coming up, guys. I'll see you later.